Welcome back. At some point, all of us have been involved in fundraising efforts, from selling candy bars for Little League, cookies for Girl Scouts, or even raising bigger money for a town project. It's all part of being involved in your community. But asking for money is never easy, but now there is help. Ask Without Fear is a new book by expert fundraiser Mark Pittman, the man who has helped raise millions of dollars for various charities and nonprofits. Now he's sharing that expertise with the rest of us, and we're pleased to have Mark Pittman joining us this morning. Mark, great to have you in.
Thanks, great to be here.
And thanks for this book, because we are all involved in this in one way or another, or we get roped into something. But when it comes to fundraising, it always seems to be that that people say, well, it's one of those things, either you're good at it or you're not. But you're telling us that doesn't have to be the case.
Well, I believe that too. For the first 5 years or so, when people had asked me, could you teach me how to do that? I would just say, it's a congenital birth defect. I actually enjoy asking for this stuff.
Right.
And I found out that as we started, well, it was a mentor, actually. Dave Dunlop was his guru from Cornell, who made me promise in my career to make sure that volunteers could always be engaged and involved, because everything seems to get professionalized in our field, in our world. And so he wanted me to make sure amateurs or volunteers or real people could do it.
Right.
So I started teaching.
It seems like a lot of these organizations are now kind of farming that stuff out.
Definitely.
Where they used to do it on their own. But I think the biggest problem is people have a fear, or they're not real good at it, and they go in and say, you know, we need X amount of dollars for this thing. But if you don't have it, that's okay.
Exactly,
you know?
right?
And
So
that's not,
no harm, no foul, honest.
But
Yeah.
if you could, that'd be really swell.
It would be great. Part of the reason I think people need to look at how they see money. What is their own issues with money? Most of us think of it as a business transaction. If I'm taking something from you when I get money. Where when you get into fundraising for nonprofits, you find out that you're actually giving a benefit to the donor as well. There's studies have shown physical benefits. There's a higher quality of life with people that are donors. You don't have to get into that. It's just seeing their eyes light up when they realize they can invest in something they love.
If you tickle their sort of giving bone right, they're going to be excited about helping something
I
out.
prefer to see it as finding their values and helping them invest in those.
Right.
But yeah.
We're along the same lines there, I think. All right, you have 4 key strategies that are going to work for any of us. What's step 1?
Well, as a Gen Xer, get real was something I heard a lot, and said a lot. So I like to have it based on get real. The first step in real is research. We have to, the biggest mistake a lot of people make, whether it's for your walkathon or for your national cause, is trying to figure out how much you want to raise. Most board members and all think, well, more is better. We'll just keep raising more. But that's not a goal. You need to shoot for a target. And so if you can research your cause, use something like a gift range calculator. Giftrange-calculator.com lets you calculate out what are the level of gifts. Let's say you wanted to raise $100,000. Most people would say, well, if we found 1,000 people that would give $100, we've got it. Right. No worries. Never works that way. We've been studying this for decades, and people don't give that way. So the gift range calculator would show that you need your first gift to be about 10% or 25%. I like 25%. So if you're trying to raise $100,000, you need somebody that can give $25,000.
Right.
So researching, and then also researching your prospects, finding out who they are. What about them? What are the people that are more naturally would gravitate to your cause?
So doing all your homework and taking care of that.
Exactly.
All right, what's step 2? Engaging.
This is something that I think the recent recession showed a lot of nonprofits they didn't do. They thought donors kept giving to them annually, so they figured, well, we're doing a good job. But they didn't develop a relationship. So engaging is like dating. Right. You don't walk into a bar and pop a question, turn to the next person and say, I want to marry you. You got to get to know the person. So what are their interests? What are your interests? Where's the natural
fit? Kind of doing a little sales work here.
Yeah, definitely. I try to translate sales things for nonprofits, because a secret is nonprofits don't really like sales talk. So
step 3 is very simple. You say ask.
Ask. If you did nothing else, you'd raise money. What I like to say, I tell fundraisers that they're like, the donor is like an electric cord, and a nonprofit's like a row of plugs. And our job is to walk up and down our nonprofit to figure out, is the donor a 3-prong cord or a 2-prong plug with a wide side, or one of those curvy appliance ones, and then what's the natural outlet in our organization, and then you just invite them to give. Right. And then plug in. And they always give, right?
Yeah, well, generally they do. I mean, you found that to be the case. Lastly, and we're short on time here, number 4 is to anticipate follow-up questions.
Yeah, definitely. If they start asking you questions, most people will just put up their hands and say, oh, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter. But really, the objections show an interest that give you something to work with. You can become a problem solver with them. If they say, well, my kids are in college, you can say, well, should we have smaller pledge payments until they get out of college?
Right. And also, once you go through all of this, and if they donate, you know, again, it's part of that relationship you talked about, Send along a thank you card. Let them know how it's going.
Fourth step is love, right?
Right.
And also the people that say no.
Right.
If you treat those people well, they may come back, because most nonprofits aren't really good at treating people that say no well.
Well, it is great advice, Mark. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
you sharing it. I want to tell folks you can also sign up for Mark's newsletter at fundraisingcoach.com, and you can find out more of this. And if you got a project, you got money to raise, it can be done.
Definitely.
All right, Mark, we appreciate it.